Hello and welcome to the video. In today's video, we are going to cover how to take your Notion page or a page in your Notion account and turn it into a website. There's a few ways to do it, but this process took me less than an hour and I customized everything the way I wanted to. I didn't do a lot of customizations, but I was able to customize everything the way I wanted to and get it up and running very quickly here. So if you haven't worked with domains before or CNAMEs or A records and all of that, I'm going to walk you through that on how to get set up. I am going to have other videos around SEO and things to consider with this type of website for SEO purposes, but let's get into it. First and foremost, let's take a look at what is on my screen. So on the left-hand side here is Google Chrome, and this is the website, davids.blog. Simple, clean, it has articles, about, goals, different sections. When you hover, it has this like hover effect. The color is this like light bluish gray. It is not the standard black. If you look on the right side of the screen, you'll see this is like the standard black, all of that. So all these different pages here set up, and this is the site, which is beautiful. It's built off of this. So if I add something here and say hello and do that and give it a few minutes, it takes a moment to update, but you'll see it's now added there to the site. So it's very easy to work with, very simple to use. It is live changes, so there's no way to like adjust it and play with it and then figure out what you like and then go live. It happens live. But a few key things. One of the major updates, one of the reasons I went to this, let me actually show you. This was my site before, and I built this in Webflow, which is cool. Like it had cool hover effects and other effects, but the thing is like I'd have to customize so many different components to make it even look and feel like Notion. So for example, if I go here and I click on this, when you go in, you'll see there's an image and I just threw it to the side. That was easy. I have this quote from Twitter. I just literally paste the Twitter link and it shows up just like this, and it's live information. You could see like you could hover over it and possibly click on different sections, and the fact that it just does that, it's easy to use, it's easy to link, is great. All the images get uploaded into it. Super simple. At the bottom here too is like this new block that they offer. It's still in beta, but it's a sync block. Well, at the bottom of every blog post, I could have this sync block where I could easily add a profile or something so that it goes across all my pages. So if I'd make a change here, I'm actually editing it on 4 other pages. There used to be a workaround that I learned from Notion VIP, notion.vip, I believe that's the website URL, on how to do this, but this is way simpler because it's built into Notion, so it's very native to the process. All right, and so in this video, we are going to use Super. If you haven't heard of Super, Super takes your Notion, turns it into a website in minutes, and I'm going to show you how to do that to customize your site. So I'm going to sign in to my account, and you'll see here it says move to beta. Again, this is another reason this is actually, I'm really excited about this. This new beta look and feel is really nice. It seems as if they've pulled a bit of their site structure from Squarespace and how Squarespace is built in some ways, not fully, but in some ways. And so you'll see here sites, account, community, docs. Okay, so I'm going to click on sites. I'm going to hit new site. So this is where we're going to begin. Before I do that, actually, I am going to go to my Notion account, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to build a page. I am going to launch, let's see, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it from scratch. So articles I love, these are the different accounts I have. I am going to create a new account, add another account, and close that. There we go. So those 3 little dots right there, I am going to do join or create workspace, and this is for myself. Wonderful. Generating, getting ready. Cool. Awesome. Here are some templates. Okay, got it. Just let it be. Welcome to Notion and welcome to my new site. So here we go. Now I have this Notion account. I'm going to make one adjustment in here just to get started. So if I go to settings, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this to, let's see, Super Notion website launch. That's a long name. Okay, cool. Update that and we're good to go. The one thing to consider is the main page, whatever you link to to Super, is an important URL. So we're going to walk through that in a little bit more detail in a moment, but I'm going to change this to what I just named this whole account. So let's go back to settings. I'm just going to change this to that. The reason being is when I hit share, we'll get to this in a moment, you'll see the name shows up in the URL here. So we want to make sure that is relevant, but I'll come back to that in a moment as we go through the steps. Now that's done. I have my Notion account and I have Super open. So within Super, I'm going to hit new site, little plus sign, and they're going to ask you, what do you want to name the site? So I'm going to paste that same name in here, and then it's going to ask what URL is the Notion page. So boom, we're actually right back at it. So in here, what you have to do is you have to share this page to get the URL. So you have to you can't do copy link. You want to do share to web. Click on that. I'm going to remove allow duplicate. I don't know if it matters, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And this URL, copy that. Let me show you what this URL looks like. You'll see that's what it looks like. So you'll see it takes the name, Super Notion website launch, blah, blah, blah. blah. So if you end up changing this main name here, so if I changed it 1000x, you will see that the domain changes, the URL changes. So you got to keep that in mind as you're working on this site, especially for the main page, all right? So now once you have that URL, go back here, paste that in, hit continue, and the magic begins. Okay, so while that does that, I'm going to go on this left-hand side here. You'll see I'm logged into GoDaddy. This is where I have my domain. So you're going to have to log into your domain registrar and get in here. So if you have Google domains or any other type of domain service, this is where you get access to it. So I'm going to use this domain here. So I don't think this is actually linked to anything right now. So I'm going to go in here, and what I want to do is find manage DNS. That's what you're looking for within your domain provider. All right. And just for a moment, I am going to leave this right here. There's some records here that I need to delete. In most cases, if you have a brand new domain, you don't have to worry about this, but we'll talk through that in a moment. So look, we have a site beginning, okay? So details, let's take a look at details. Site name, we got that. Notion page, got that, okay? That's good to go. Domains, now we're gonna connect the domain. Default built-in domain, so every site will have a built-in domain and a custom domain. This is really useful just for structure purposes. A lot of sites do this. Squarespace does this with all their sites. I believe Webflow does this with all their sites. Many site launch tools do this for you. So right now I have Super Notion website launch. Just make sure it's relevant to whatever you have. In this case, I'm going to just leave it like that. And then I'm going to go to custom domain. So this is how you add a custom domain. Add a custom domain, click plus. It's going to ask you what you want. Now, we're going to do davidiskander.com. But if you want, say, perhaps a subdomain, say you're doing a hiring page, well, you could do hiring.davidiskander.com, or you could do resources or whatever that may be. So you could add it as a subdomain. You could also create a subdomain. But in this case, I just want it to be the main domain, HTTPS, all that stays there, and then davidiskander.com. Obviously, you have to own the domain first. So if you don't own a domain, just go to GoDaddy or wherever you want to go and look for a domain. Okay, great. It's $1 a month, which be careful when they say that. As soon as you hit add to cart, things change with GoDaddy. But anyway, you have a domain. Cool. So davidiskander.com, click continue. And just like this, you have to just do two things. All right. So first is a type, a record. Second is a type, and is a CNAME. All right. So we want to add these to your domain, to your DNS records for the domain. Okay. So what I'm going to do is these are some records, old records from my previous Webflow site that I am no longer using because I don't need it. So I'm deleting these records. What I do if you're like completely new to this and you have no idea what you're doing, keep these things in mind. First of all, MX records usually refer to email records. So those are connected to my email. Don't want to change those. NS records, probably shouldn't play with those. SOA, don't play with those. TXT, you could leave those as well. The main ones you want to consider are going to be CNAME, and along with CNAME is going to be A records. In this case, you'll see CNAME email. This is for my email. FTP, cool. That could do its own thing. www, Webflow. Don't need that, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then there's this other CNAME domain connect, and this is for GoDaddy, the GD GoDaddy. So I'm going to leave those, but I got rid of everything that was connected to Webflow. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click add, and first I'm going to add the I'll do the A record. That's how they structure it. So just type record is an A record, name/host. All of these companies call these different things, so I'm happy they show both. It's going to be the @ sign, and I'm going to copy that little code. So here, I just put the @ sign, points to that. TTL, just leave it as is. Click save. All right, so it's been added down here. And then I'm going to hit add again, and now I'm going to add the CNAME. Host is going to be www, and then cname.super.so. So that goes there. That stays the same. All right, so it's been added. Now, the one thing to know about DNS records and adding them and changing them, they work immediately and they kind of don't. So sometimes their old records are cached within servers across the world. So sometimes it'll load, sometimes it won't immediately. It takes a little bit of time. I've added the DNS records. We'll check that off. All right. And checking status. So one way you can check status, obviously, is just go to the domain. So let's type that in. Not a secure connection yet. So we'll just keep refreshing and checking in on it as we go through the process. View DNS, that's all good. So it's showing this like orange dot. I'm thinking that means it's not set yet. Maybe when it will turn green later. That's my assumption. And we'll see. And that will be good to go. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for this, we can begin to do a few other things. So this is set to go. Now let's go back. We've done details. We've done domains. Now we could look at pages, options, and themes. So I'm going to start from the bottom now up. So we're going to go to themes. You'll see here, if you click color theme, there are a few options. So there is, as of right now, there is dark mode, which you'll see here. This is like the Notion dark mode. The background is not a full black. It's like an off black. Then they have blackout, which is a full black. And then they have this neutral look and feel. I personally just kept it at default. I wish, and I think they'll do it eventually, I wish it would just change with the computer settings. A lot of websites are starting to do that, where they just change with the settings. So as your computer goes into dark mode in the evening, it will change automatically. But this is, as of right now, manual. So if you select one, it's always that one. So if you select dark mode, it starts with dark mode. But I'm going to keep it default, and I'll show you why in a moment. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go back. And then for custom font, it has it set to enter. So let's see. Oh, yay, it's loading. Okay, so right now it's set to enter. If I play around with this, let's just use something. Let's do that. That will be a clear indication of a different font. So first and foremost, if I click that, if I click save, again, it takes a few seconds for things to upload or update. So right now it's still using the intro font, and now it has adjusted. It is adjusted to the new font. So just like that, that was literally like, what, 3 seconds? Not a long time, but the adjustment is there. I'm going to go back to, let's see, enter. That's interesting. It's not my favorite font, but definitely interesting. So I'll just keep it that. It has a bit of a different feel, and wait for that to upload. Okay, so we said we'd come back to the color theme. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to go to options. Now this is where it gets fun, and I'm going to do other videos on SEO so you could learn more about that. But for right now, global code injection. So you'll see here, you could click edit, and here you could start adding code to your site. Now, if I go back to Super's homepage and I go to guides, they have this really good guide for how to change the colors on your site. All right, so there's a lot of different options here. Change the background, change multiple colors, and then all available colors. And I actually don't think this is all of them, but what you could do is you could copy this code here. This is like a really in-depth look and feel, but you could copy the code there, and then you can paste it here and then start to edit the code. Now, if you've never played with code, this could look really scary, but basically what you're doing is you're looking at different options for fonts, colors, background colors, all this stuff. So let's take a look at it. One other thing I'm going to open up Poolers. Let's see. I think I have one of these open already. Let me see if this is the right palette. Okay, so this is a great palette to work with for colors, and I'll show you why. This is very like software tech feel. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to copy that for a moment. Okay, let's start to understand this a little bit. What this is doing is basically at the root level is changing the font colors. So you'll see here color text default. This is the main color. So if I copy that and I paste it, let's say there, this is the main text color for the font. It's not full black. It is, let's see, just a few shades off from a full black. And then what's the color text for gray or brown or orange? You could adjust all of them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just play with a few of them. Color text default, I'm actually going to change it to the color I just had copied, which, let me zoom out so you see it. So you could see that there was no change. This is one thing you can know about code in this case. And this may change over time, but as of right now, what you could do is, you see this little symbol here, get rid of that, and you do an exclamation point. It is going to add this important tag, and then if you add that semicolon back in, you'll see it changed all the colors. So let me get rid of this. Watch the color change. Boom. Just like that, it changed. Now, one thing I didn't like is technically this title here. This title is also that color, and I actually want that color, I want that to stay like black. So I'm going to do inspect, and then here, you'll see there's some fun stuff to do. Now, again, if you've never done this before, I'll do another video possibly on actually how to do all of this, to play around with some key aspects. But I'm just going to do one more thing for now, which is going to be, you'll see I'm selected on this Notion header title. So I'm just going to copy that. And what I'm going to do is go down here before the end of the style tag. So within the style tag, I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to add curly brackets. Boom, that's there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do color, and I'm going to do full black. Okay, so that's that, and then close that, and you'll see now that it's full black. So that is full black, and then this feels a little bit different. And what I might do in this case, because this is a gray, it's like a grayish blue, I may actually do something like that, copy that, go back, clean up that palette a bit, and then do that. So then it's not a full black, looks a little bit different. Okay, so now I'm going to hit save. Just for now, we could do a whole video on custom code if that's something that you would like, but you'll see here, as I refresh the page, you'll see the changes start to take effect. And it just has a nice feel overall for this. Now, you could go through here and change all the colors. I do remember there were a few colors that were missing here as I was going through it. One thing you could do when you're in the inspect tool, if you scroll down here, do you see all this? This is the code we added. Everything's crossed out. It's basically because it doesn't have the important tag. You could see the only thing that is highlighted here is this. So you may have to add the important tag to everything. I'm not sure because that's not how they show it in this tutorial. But for now, I'm going to do that. And you'll see as soon as I do that, this is now more important than the previous one. So then you could go through and make adjustments to all of those. You'll see here. So there's color BG brown, light color pill orange. There were a few of these that I wasn't seeing. So you could make adjustments here to them if you're not finding it. But basically, like if you want to change something, you could just find it, hover over it, click inspect. And then once you do that, you could find out what it's pulling from up here and learn more about it. So here it's pulling from the bottom border is pulling from color text default light. So if you click on that, it's pulling from this text, this color right here, which in this case is being crossed out for this one down here. So if I change this 0.6 to something else, if I go back to the top and I change this 0.6 to 1 and get out of that, you'll see it's a lot darker now. So you'll see that line below is really dark and I don't want that. So I'm going to change it back to 0.6. Cool. Introduction to custom code. So if you want to change colors there, that's where you could do that. Now let's go back. Site language you could adjust. Favicon you could add here. That's the little icon in the browser. So if I bring this down, these little yellow icons, you could adjust that. As of right now, mine is the super icon. So yeah, that is that. And let me pull that back up. All right. Site favicon, search engine enabled. That's great. Page properties. If you can't see the difference, it's probably because the contrast on my screen is really low. But as of right now, it's selected on enable. Page properties. Database pages. What does this look like? Let me show you. So let's go back to Notion and we're going to create a database. I'm going to do list. Perfect. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to enter new tag. Perfect. Cool. So I'm going to enable this and I'm going to refresh. Table will get added in a moment. Okay, wonderful. The table has been added. So you'll see here page 1 as a sample. If I click into this page, it might take a second to load. Let me double check. Oh, I need to add properties. There we go. Might take a second again. All right. Well, while that loads, you'll see it's starting to add these tags or this information here. So one thing you'll notice inside Notion, it gives you all these options and the filters and all of this, add views, all of that. Within Super's website, once your site is live, it's not going to give you all those options. So it's important to keep that in mind as you're building, just to kind of see what is there and what's not there for people to use. One thing I do on my Notion account for this website is you'll see here articles, list view. There's actually a filter on. So if I go back to my site here, it's only showing 3 articles. But if I go into this, if I open it up, and then I go from list view to internal view, you'll see there's a bunch of different articles here. And a lot of this is not done yet. So like there's that. Now, I don't know exactly how this works yet. I'm still trying to figure this out. But if you go, oops, wrong one. If you go back, you'll see now it's just changed everything to like show. I don't know. After I edit, so basically what I do is when I want to adjust an article, I come in here and then this one's published, but let's just say I go to this one and I'm like editing and I'm adjusting and I'm figuring stuff out. Once I'm done, I change the status to published. And once I do that, it will get added to this list view. So if I go back and I go here, you'll see now I have 4 articles here. And once I add in published on, today is June 14th. So once I do that, it'll start to show the date. And then once I add tags, it'll show that as well. And then back here on my site over time, it will add in that as well. So let's give it a moment. And while that loads, I do want to show you this. So if I go to terms for clear thinking, you'll see tags, psychology, productivity, design. Well, that's what this is. So what took me on this little rabbit trail here is page properties. Show properties on database pages. So it's showing these properties. If you want it disabled, it will not show these properties. And you could have a ton of properties here. That is that. Site search, enable site search. So you'll see in the top right corner here, if you focus there, you'll see a little search bar come up, which is a really nice feature. It looks really clean and the experience is really nice. So someone could search your site very easily. So we're going to keep that on. Click save. done, simple. So that's options. We've done themes, options, domains, details. Now the last thing is pages. I'm going to do a whole different video on this, but as far as I can tell as of right now, sync URLs. This is not a perfect system yet as far as I can tell, because if you go back to David's blog right here, you could see this is the URL, which is to me trash. This is not good for Google purposes. This is a big reason why I stayed away from using this as a site for long-term actual growth, but we'll see what we could do to figure this out in another video based on SEO. Okay, so let's go back to our site here, and I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to click on page 1. There we go. There we go. It's loaded now. It has loaded a page. So if I click on page 1, you'll see these pieces of information. That's the page properties that they're showing. And in this case, there's actually a line showing up right there between it. And there's the info. I also have this turned on so that it goes through, shows all the page titles, which is nice in the process. And there are a ton of customizations. There are a ton of options that you could use in building up your site like this. You could add in images and icons and all of that. So if I go back here and add an icon, and let's just do this and give it a moment, it will load. You could add the images to the top of the page, all of that, and build out your site. One final thing, let's go back to domains and let's take a look. So before there were 3 sections here, now there are only 2. So view DNS info, and it's all there. It doesn't really signify that it's set up. It just is. It doesn't say, there's no, I thought it turned green, but it doesn't show anything. And as you could obviously tell, it's connected to the site. And what's cool too is it is set up with SSL, which is security to make sure the site works every time. Fabulous setup, simple, really, really simple to launch. I believe Super offers a 7-day free trial to get started. And as you can see here, the site is set up, and I think I would get billed in 7 days. So let's go back. And then take a look at account. Yeah, so you see 2 sites, 24 per month. It doesn't say when my next bill is. It does say I got charged on June 6th. So it looks like the 6th of every month I get charged. I don't know exactly when it'll bill for the 2 sites, but for now, that is the process. And you can launch a site, have it up and running with all of Notion's beautiful features built into it. And that is how you launch a site with Super. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, or leave comments below whatever platform or tool you're watching this video on. Please let me know if this was helpful for you, and if you want more content like this, please stay connected with subscribing or any other form or feature that you have below to connect. Hey, thank you for watching this video. If you got value from this video, hit that like button. When you hit that like button, it tells the YouTube algorithm some important information, but it also lets me know that you got value from this video. And if you did get value from this video and you want more content just like this, consider subscribing. We publish new videos every single week. Friday at 1 p.m. we post a new video, if not multiple videos throughout the week. If you have any questions, drop a comment below, but I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.